You're listening to the Comic Crusaders Podcast. I am your host, Al Mega, CEO of Comic Crusaders and Undercover Capes. In this show, I'm sitting down with creators from all walks of life to talk about inspiration, process, the lessons they've learned, and a whole lot more. Wepa, what up, mi gente? It's your boy, Al Mega. Welcome to a brand new Comic Crusaders Podcast. And today we talking comics goodness, with a dynamic duo. We're waiting for the second half of the duo, but let me introduce that first half. I mean, homie is an independent creator. He's a graphic novelist, comic book writer. He has done stuff that you see across Marvel and indie everywhere, and he got some dope stuff coming out on comics. Oh, actually, he's already out on Comixology Digital called The Panic. Let me introduce the one, the owner, the only said Senor Neo Kleid. Epa, what up?
Hey, what's going on? Thanks for having me.
No, thanks for coming on, hanging out. Hopefully, Andrea could, Mutti, the artist of this awesome book, hopefully could join us soon. You know, throw the traffic, folks. It is what it is. You know, I would think he'd get here fast because people here drive like psychos. Because I'm in Florida myself, so
very, very careful driver.
Gotcha. As long as he ain't driving, he driving Miss Daisy, then hopefully he'll make it. All right, so my brother. What is going on? Talk to me, Neil. Where you from originally? Where did you grow up? And how did you get into all this pop culture madness?
Yeah, man. So I'm originally from Detroit, from Michigan. I grew up there. My family's there. That's where I kind of got into comics. My dad used to come home with a bag of comics every week.
What?
Basically,
your dad?
My dad.
He was a geek himself, though.
Well, I mean, he liked comics. He collected, the original Marvels, like the Kirby Lee era.
Oh, cool.
And so he like every other dad from the '60s will always say, like, "Oh man, if I had kept all the comics my mom threw out," right? So so he had a little bit of like, I want you guys to be interested in comics, but it was more like reservational for him. Basically, if I give them comic books, they'll leave me alone. So he would throw us a bag of comics and Friday night where he'd just be like, look, I need to sleep, so go read this. And that's how my brother and I really got into it. And we collected a little collection, a lot of early DCs, a lot of early Marvels.
Nice.
And as I kind of grew, the infatuation grew as well with television, with comic books, with TV and all, and action figures. And I really taught myself how to draw from reading comic books. So
okay, cool.
When I was in high school, I could always draw when I was a kid, but it was a lot of like just random nonsense. But as I started to read some, not just superheroes books, but I started to read like Ninja Turtles in high school, and I started to trace a lot of the pages. So I always said, I'm going to trace the pages. I'm going to learn.
You were tracing it from the comic book on?
Yeah, I would put a piece of paper on or tracing paper, and I would draw around.
Collectors are like dying right now. Oh my god!
Right, that's how I started. I started to like figure out like, okay, and I didn't really like teach myself anatomy from anatomy books. That came later. Originally, I taught myself how to draw by studying comics, by studying the comic strips, by studying comic book pages, by reading like any book that I could get a hand on about how to draw comics, like how to draw comics the Marvel way. Will Eisner, his sequential art books. So I got a lot of those books as a kid, and I read everything I could, but all I kept doing was drawing and drawing and drawing. Okay. And eventually, I have family in New York, so we were always in New York all the time. And one time, my dad actually took us to Marvel when they were on Park Avenue.
Oh, cool. Nice.
He did not have an appointment. He did not. There was no.
I just walked in.
He just literally walked in the office. That was before there was like doorman or anything like that. And he walked us into the Marvel waiting room. And I don't even remember who was there at the time, but he went. Maybe it was Flo, maybe it wasn't. And he basically said, "Hey, my kid here. He loves to draw. He wants to draw comics. Can somebody talk to him?" And they brought out Pat Garrahy, who was I think coloring books there at the time, or editing and coloring. He was doing a lot of things. And he talked to me for a while. And I basically had a fistful of pinups. And he said, these are great. You really need to learn the anatomy of the characters, but also the anatomy of a page, like how to create a comic book page. And so he gave me a ton of printouts, and he gave me a script. It was an early Avengers script.
What?
He was really cool, and basically said, go home, just draw from this script, or redraw another comic book, and learn how to draw a comic book, not just pinups and splash pages and things like that. And so I did that. I really took it home, and I spent a lot of time working on that script. And I also redrew, I think it was Avengers 273, and then I redrew a bunch of old Batman comics. And that's how I learned how to draw comic books. And
really cool. But I can't get over the fact that your dad, like that, just went, like thug. That's a Detroit thug right there. I'm gonna just walk in and somebody's gonna talk to my kid.
He's Brooklyn original. He's from
my God, really?
Yeah,
he went in there with that swagger that you're gonna talk to my kid, right?
Yeah, basically, like, who's gonna talk to my kid right now? Come on.
I love this. And I love that story.
I think he thought I was gonna walk out of there with a job, but I must have been 16 at the time, maybe 15. So basically, that's how I learned to draw. And then when I moved to New York in '99. I had a friend who was working as a Batman editor on the Batman titles, Jordan Gorfinkel, who conceived No Man's Land, Batman No Man's Land. And Jordan said, hey, come up to the offices and I'll introduce you around and I'll look at your pages. And he was great. He walked me around the offices. I met a bunch of editors. And he looked at the pages and said, these are great. These are good, but they're not great. And your anatomy's off. There's people who are doing it much better than you are. The one thing that I can tell you is, you can tell a story. You're pacing, the way you're pacing the pages, the way you're telling the story is fantastic. Have you thought about just being a writer? And I hadn't until that point. And I kind of walked away like bummed out about it because I'd always wanted to draw comic books. And he said, why don't you go and study these, writing books and, look at how Alan Moore writes, like how Frank Miller writes, look how some of the luminaries in the industry are writing, and figure out how to write a script. And so I went home and I started to teach myself from the beginning, how am I going to write a script? And that kind of got me to where I am now.
Did you initially tackle that with the excitement like you did when you were doing art? Were you as excited, or you were like, oh wait, this is an opportunity?
So yes and no. I was a little bummed, right? I wanted to draw comics, right? I'm an artist, and that's kind of what I do. I like to draw. And it was sort of tackling something I never thought that I was going to do. So there was this sort of learning curve of, okay, I'm not used to this the craft of actually telling the story just in the script. And I looked at a lot of like screenplays and a lot of novels and just how all writers across all mediums tell a story in a different way. And how comics could be kind of a hybrid of those. And one of the cool things about comics versus like a movie, right? Like a movie, as long as you have the budget for it, you can show whatever you want, right? But if you don't have the budget, you're sort of limited. The cool thing about comics is the budget is really kind of what's in your head, right? You can draw anything you want as long as you can draw it. And it could be, 40 spaceships descending on 50 planets with horses and samurai, as long as you can draw it, the budget's the limitations of your hand, right?
Yeah.
But you also have to sort of balance it with the economy of the page, right? And that's something that I've learned since then over the years, even up to today. What's the economy of the page that I'm creating? I've got a certain amount of space. I need to get in a certain amount of letters and dialogue, and also make sure that the art is sort of telling the story. And there's the guy who tells the story, Andrea.
Hey, Andrea Mutti. What's going on, kiddo? Folks, meet the artist of this awesome book right here, Andrea Mutti. I mean, legendary person right there. The only thing that I'll tell you right now, the cap gotta go. I'm a Yankee fan, but other than that, I only play.
Thank you so much. Sorry for the delay. I was some issues. Okay, thank you. Hi, Jill.
What's going on, man?
Good. What a rush.
Yeah, we're finishing up Neil's little origin story. Then we're gonna get into yours. I mean, he's already dropping some awesome stories. I mean, whose dad takes them to Marvel? I mean, damn! I wish my dad took me.
So basically, like I said, that's the origin story, but that really has kind of brought me to where I am now and brought me to sort of the partnership with my pal here, just understanding. And I think it was great because I started in art and then I moved to writing, and now I'm lettering. I'm even lettering my books.
Oh, we are.
Yeah. And so nice. The only thing that I haven't really done is I am not a colorist, right? And I haven't really edited. But there's really the understanding when you're going to craft a page now, what are my spatial constraints, right? If I want Andrea's amazing art to be shown, I don't want to cover it up with 50 speech balloons, right? And also, even beyond that, for the art itself, when I'm giving a description, there's this sense of, well, you can't have 4 to 7 people in a really tiny panel if I have 7 panels on a page, right? So what the great thing about that sort of journey was that I got to learn all sides of the craft, but I'm still always learning. Like I letter my comics, but I'm not like a professional letterer. There are people out there, Taylor Esposito, Todd Klein, a bunch of letterers out there that are really doing fantastic work, and you should hire them. But when I letter the comics that I work on, there's such an advantage because I can edit myself as I'm going. So if I find that I have too much dialogue, I can kind of pull back. I can also figure out where the best placement is for the dialogue that I'm crafting or the captions that I'm crafting, so I'm not covering up the amazing artwork.
We don't want to cover up that artwork because it's dope.
So let's talk about the artwork and the artist.
Yeah, let's talk about it. Okay, so I told him before, I like my origin story first. Comic Crusaders, and every hero has an origin story. You're a hero in comics with your artistry. So talk about first where you from and how you got into this madness of pop culture and that creative road.
Me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I'm Italian, so nobody's perfect. Sorry for my voice; it's pretty rough today. But I live in America since the last 4 years. I live in Florida, Sarasota, and I've been in this field since 32 years. So
wow, 32.
Yes,
you started young.
Yes, I was in college. My first contract signed was in college. Yeah, I was a student. So I'm a pretty old boy. So, yeah.
Who got you into the culture? Was it something you found on your own? Was it your parents, your cousins, your siblings? How did you find this?
But this kind of work is choose you, not you choose something like that, because it's like a demon, inside yourself. And I remember I was super young, like 6 years old, and my point during the day was telling something about drawing, not drawing something, but tell something about the stories. And I was really obsessed about white paper and become Western story. My heroes was the Western stuff at the beginning, and for me it was a myth, iconic stuff, and that's the beginning. And since then, I still remain a high popular reader. So that's the point. Yeah.
Oh, dope. And so, what was it like when you got your first opportunity? To do something, on a label.
So my super first opportunity was strips. From a magazine. It was a political strip, like funny stuff about the events, about the year, the politicians. And it was pretty funny because it was very short, like 3 panels. And at the same time, it was interesting because I had to summarize and the event of the seconds is like 3 panels, maybe sometimes with no text, only the images. And it was a challenge. I was 18 years old, so I was super young. And I remember the meetings with the editor and the publisher in my place in Italy. And for me, it was a really nice beginning. And many independent comics like Phoenix, like Star Comics, whatever. So, yeah.
Really?
All the fanzine, all the magazine, yeah.
Really? I mean, so how big is comics out there with growing up in Italy?
Yeah, it's very popular, especially for Sergio Bonelli, Vittorio Tex Wheeler, Dylan Dog, Nathan Never. I did for 10 years, almost 10 years there. And, I think it's the third country about production: Japan, United States, and Italy. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I went to Rome and Florence for my honeymoon. And just walking around Rome, you just see comics everywhere. And not just... in a bookstore, yeah. Not just European comics, like obviously you have like Tintin and some of the larger hardcovers.
The Cinebook stuff, that look like the black labels, yeah.
But you also have tons of translated mainstream, like Marvel and DC books, right? So like we picked up a couple of Spider-Mans and Fantastic Fours at the time. And you literally see them on every corner. They're in every newsstand. It's crazy. I mean, you don't see that here. You can't walk up to a newsstand and pick up.
Not anymore.
Now it's pretty different. Now the Kyoto, the Nikolai, the right name of this place. Now the bookstores are much more popular for get some comic book. So but yes, I see what I mean.
Yeah, I missed that. I remember, I grew up in Brooklyn, so we had the newsstands, and anytime mommy took me over there, say like, okay, since you were good, you could pick out a book, So as a kid, I'm picking up Savage Sword of Conan. I mean, I'm not supposed to, but so long as I never let her see the inside.
Yeah.
When I mentioned earlier that my dad was bringing home books, we didn't have a comic book store near us. He was going to the bookstore where they had a spinner rack in the corner, or he was going to 7-Eleven, right? So at 7-Eleven, there were, Superman, Batman, Sergeant Rob.
Everybody keeps telling me the legendary 7-Eleven spinner racks. I never saw one of these 7-Eleven.
Yeah, well, so really? My 7-Eleven was the spinner rack, and then this bad boy behind me, the Star Wars arcade, and that's what I went for. I used to go play Star Wars, and I used to drink a Slurpee and read comics.
Oh, bro, man, that's the kid's dream.
Yeah.
Did you have Slurpees in Italy, Andrea?
I'm sorry?
Did you have Slurpees over there? Did you have 7-Elevens?
Yeah. Yeah, something like not the same. We call that like all in the motorway, in the highways. We call auto grill. It's a kind of.
Okay, yeah. It's a ripoff. Is what it is. All right.
They have like limoncello.
Yeah, exactly.
Instead of like Coke and cherry and Mountain Dew, right?
So here's what I want to do, right? Because I have the awesome trailer, and I also have a PowerPoint about this book, right? So I want to show off the trailer. Then I want to talk about how you guys connected, how that bromance was built to do this dope book that's out now on Comixology, folks. Digitally, you can get this baby. All right. Check out this awesome trailer for issue number 1 of The Panic. All right. This is fire, folks. Fire is right there. Wow. Holy, and I missed that cool sound so much. I'm over here like closing my eyes and moving. Okay, I'm on the train right now. I'm the G train.
Holding the strap, right?
Yeah. No, I would never really hold a strap. I'm the dude that always stood by the door. I'll let you in. I'd move.
I like to lean up against the door between the cars, right? The door that you're not supposed to go through.
Yeah, I either do that or the normal door, the regular door. Right. I don't like holding on to the strap because it's just, dude, I mean, growing up in Brooklyn, Greenpoint, a lot of construction workers, and they're like this, that, a lot of times, people just be like, yo, bro, can you just like lower your arm? So I never wanted someone to tell me that, not that I worked in construction, but, I just...
Right, but then if you're at the door, you got to deal with people coming in and out, and it's like, oh, okay. But if you're at the door between the cars, every now and then you'll get somebody kind of coming through, but generally that door stays closed.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and again, you capture the sound. 2 rats. I mean, in this story, those rats are probably going to outnumber these poor people. So before we even get into that, how did you guys even connect to build this masterpiece that is truly New York? Because I was smelling the subway station as I read the book.
Thanks. So I first connected with Comixology. I've been pitching this book for a long time. It's evolved over the years, and if you get into the back matter, and then for this issue, and then later on, I talk about it a little bit about. It started as a novel, and then it became a comic, and then I pitched it to a couple, and it landed at a few places. But Comixology really has been championing it. via Chip Mosher, who is our king, and Chip put the two of us together. Basically, I was looking for somebody to partner with, to be the co-author of this book, and he was like, "Are you familiar with his work?" And I said, "Yes, of course." And we just started trading emails. And you talk about bromance. I think that's kind of the perfect word, because since we started working, I mean, every email has been like emoji, high five, brother. This is awesome. Andrea has a very evocative way of expressing himself in email. And it's been not just the two of us, but also our editor, Mariah, and the whole Comixology team. It's been such a joy to work on this book with this team, because we are all really excited for it, and we are excited by it, and we're excited to be working together. And obviously the team at Dark Horse also, who we're going to be doing print collection with, they've been great. Everybody has just really been rallying around this book. And Pamela, I can't forget Pamela, who set up.
Yeah, yo. Shout out to Pam. Hey.
It's just been such a fantastic experience, and I could not have asked for a better co-author, partner, brother on this ride, and I really hope we get to do more.
Hey, we're gonna have to see more after this 5-issue arc. I definitely want to see more. So, Andrea, talk to me, man. When you got hooked up with Neil, I mean, how did you vibe? How did it feel for you?
But it was really interesting. I'm always enthusiastic about the new projects, and talking with Neil, it's always love at first sight. And the point was the story is not a supernatural story or a superhero story, no superpower, but it's about normal people, with normal guys and girls and whatever, with their problems, with their lives. But the real superpower was the event. So something happens. What? I have no idea. We are trapped within the Outer Rim, and what's going on there? Up there. So this is the point. Normal people that they can handle together, and they trust each other. Maybe not, maybe yes. Why? Who is the leader? We need a leader or not? So it's sometimes remind me. I told you in the previous interview. Remind me the first episode of Lost. Remember the Lost?
Oh yes,
yeah.
Of course.
Sometimes I remind me of this kind of situation, and I really love this kind of stuff. And of course, the dark side. Because if you can imagine this story in the real life, it was a pitch black, and that's it. Some light here and there. So we try to handle the situation about the lights, the colors, something pop, and the vibes of the emotional attitude of the colors, something not really realistic, but something much more moving of the feelings of the situation and the character. Only some type of a spot of real colors, some red, some blue, but all the red is kind of melting pot of colors.
Yeah. And there's a very noticeable red in there too.
Right. So there's we call it intentional red, right? So there's very, very, very much an intentional red, and I know some folks call it cliche. Some folks, are like, oh, we see that, Schindler's List did it. A couple other places use a splash red, and but what I love about it is that it doesn't. It stands out a little bit, but it's so much a part of the organic palette that Andrea has put throughout the book, that even later on, when we're bringing a lot more yellows and oranges, it doesn't feel jarring. And the colors, Andrea has always said that we have a great ensemble here, and fear is like a big part of our cast, right? Fear is a character in this book. I will continue to say that color is a huge part of the ensemble. Color tells a story here, and really the way Andrea kind of does the paints and really draws your eye.
It sets a mood, man. It definitely sets a mood, because as a native New Yorker reading this, I felt claustrophobic, like nervous. I was like, what's going on? And then, but just seeing the interactions, like, okay, somebody here is from New York for real, because that's how they talk to each other. So talk to me about the story, kind of, a brief synopsis without, giving us the kitchen sink. You know what I mean?
So The Panic is a story of, as you saw in the trailer, a handful of strangers who are basically trapped in a PATH train under the Hudson River, coming from New Jersey into New York, when something happens. Nobody knows what it is, but it's bad enough that their train is derailed. And they are basically in a crash site now. Hours go by, their phones don't work, they haven't heard anything from everyone, and they basically have to band together to figure out what happened and what do we do next? And it was really inspired by a couple of things for me. Originally, it was inspired by the aftermath of 9/11. I was, living in the city after the towers fell, and just seeing how New Yorkers really interacted with one another and came together to support one another and to survive and to kind of get past a horrific tragedy, made me think about the nature of individuals versus right? We all bring our own shit to the table. We all come in and we all have political, racial, sexual, social biases, especially now more than ever. And my question has always been, when the chips are down and when the lights go out, can we put all of that aside to just survive? And that's really what this book is about. It's about a group of strangers who come armed with their own biases and prejudices, and have to just put it all aside to be humans and to survive something that they don't even know what it is. And it's about that moment, the title, The Panic, really is about the moment after a tragedy happens or an emergency happens or a disaster happens, where you're just frightened and scared and you don't know what's going on. It's the unknown. And that really drives all your decisions, whether they're good, whether they're bad. And the decisions that, Andrea and I arrive at may not be the decisions that will actually happen. We were talking about this with some folks, but a couple weeks ago, there was a shooting on a subway in Brooklyn, and thank God, New Yorkers did what they're supposed to do. They helped each other. They rushed and saved and did what they could to minimize, what could have been a terrible tragedy.
And that's scary as hell.
Yeah, it's scary as hell. And so our story is the opposite of that. It is the cautionary tale of what happens when it doesn't go as smoothly as that. And that's really what this book is about.
And look at these colors right there. Look at that art. Look at that train coming. That's exactly how it would look when I would look over the edge. Is it coming yet? Even though one day I was pulling into 34th Street station, right, in the train though. And when the doors open, there's some dude bloodied laying out. You know the 34th Street has that sharp curve? Yeah. So apparently he went to check if the train is coming as it was coming.
Oh no.
He didn't see it.
Oh shit.
Yeah,
bro. And then wait, this is before 9/11, right?
Yeah.
So New Yorkers was like, y'all really stopping a train for this? And they were rushing to the other trains to try and get it moved. I'm like, wow, does no one care?
That's New York. Yeah, I mean, it's funny because the subway, there's you take your heart in your hand when you ride the subway. What I love is sort of the shorthand that you hear about. First of all, the stories that people tell from the subway are great, but the shorthand of like sick passenger, right? You hear, oh, we're stopped because of a sick passenger. That means somebody jumped, right? So that as a New Yorker, oh yeah, somebody jumped on the tracks. So,
we just think so messed up in it immediately. I dig that. And again, so Andrea, you've been to New York?
Yes, many times.
All right. So this is why you captured everything. And look at this. I mean, where was your head at when you drew this? Because again, these are things that every New Yorker fears that takes a subway.
Yeah, but I try to be very realistic at the same time, not too much, because I'd like to put the readers in the condition to recognize some places and to be able to empathy with something happens in that page. So this is my point. I have a really realistic approach. I like to have no distances between the page and the reader. So I'd like to put each other close as possible. So that's the point. Yeah, I like it.
And I need to know, why is this issue 1 called Coffin?
Oh,
so
amazing idea.
So Coffin was actually the name of the novel. When I first wrote this book, Coffin was the name of the original novel. And I don't want to give anything away. Like, there's some dialogue that sort of ties it all back together later. But the idea was you started a really enclosed, cramped space, right? And then it's about getting out of that space, right? So the next issue, I believe, is Tomb. I think that's the title.
Yes.
Is Tomb, and then it kind of goes from there. It's like Tomb, Pyre, Graveyard. It kind of like pulls itself all the way out to get out into the open. And that was kind of the thinking. It was about escaping, right? This whole comic is about escaping a very claustrophobic and closed situation. And so that's why Coffin is the first place we start, where the subway car is kind of like, often. But it
We're
really
way more than 6 feet down under there. That's for sure. Woof.
right, but it also ties into an emotional state of mind, and not to give away the game, but like it's about the coffin that you, like the casket of your own insecurities, the casket that you carry of your grief, the casket of sorrow that you carry around.
Yeah, like this poor character here, Annie, because things is going on here. And what a gorgeous page too, and it has so much emotion in it, and like it makes you curious. Like, okay, what's up? Why is she look so broken? What's going on here?
So it's I think it's the only one page in open air. So take a breath because it was the last.
Wow, what an analogy there. Love it. Yeah,
you definitely don't see a lot of white space in this story, and that page really kind of has that very like open, snowy kind of page, and it really does give you that like, okay, hold your breath, here we go, and then everything after that is dark and claustrophobic, and we kind of you can see the word after there, so this is just a whatever, it's after everything that happens. So
all right,
we're gonna see our friend Annie again.
I can't wait to circle back to that scene and what has transpired, not just with Annie but the rest of the ensemble. I mean, because you do keep it modern too with the with the COVID and everything, right? There's people are feeling types of way. We got homie with a red hat there,
Right. So I did say that this was inspired by 9/11, but I first wrote this almost 20 years ago, and
wow, the first time was 20 years ago.
Yeah, and the story has evolved and weathered so much since then. Like I said, it's about divisiveness, but we, especially in America, have gotten so politically and culturally divided over everything, over masks, over race, religion, sex, and so the story evolved with the 20 years. And so when I originally wrote it, COVID and masks weren't really a part of it. It's hard not to tell that story now without that having a footprint in it. And then obviously there's some other, political hotspots we discuss, and look, I'm a liberal. I have friends who were conservatives. I wanted to make sure that this book really showed kind of an authentic sense of a really small slice of New York. You wouldn't just all be a certain political mindset, a certain sexual background. You would really have, as they say about New York, a melting pot. And that's really what you see in our ensemble.
I saw that immediately, the diversity. I said, okay, yeah, this is New York for real. So Andrea, talk about tackling these type of heavy themes through your art.
Yeah. So you see on the pages, every single issue is a kind of decent on the dark. So in my side, the colors I told you before is kind of vibrant feelings colors. Even the black and white, they're gonna be nervous and nervous and nervous. I try to put a real high vibe. Try to put the readers and the characters, of course, inside this incredible pitch black beneath the Hudson beneath New York City, and even the drawing has to be something different, not the same approach. So every single issue, step by step, we can feel a different approach about the graphic style. With, for example, for the brush, very dry, very nervous and nervous. So I think it's kind of experimentation. It's a process, like a long and not super fast.
Well, he said it took 20 years. I mean, I hope you guys didn't connect 20 years ago,
Yeah, but it was really interesting to. It's a kind of a process experimentation. I like to try to do something different every single book. Not okay. Is this a classic book of Andrea? Oh, I know your style. So I try to do something different every time when I can. And this book is very easy for that. And if you can say, we are going to touch many interesting topics, but with in the clever way, with no speculations, with no. So this is really, really important to me because it's very important stuff, very important topics, but treating them with the respect and with the right way.
I dig it.
I really like it.
That's you just saw the pre-issue one, which is currently available right now on Comixology. Came out May 3rd, right?
Yep.
But then I happen to find this baby, right? A news page. I was like, oh my God, I really got to read issue 2 now. I got the cover. What is going on here? Oh my God. Please don't tell me that's what I think it is.
I mean, shit gets real. That's really kind of what it is. Yeah, it's not called The Panic because it's a nice, quiet story.
Bro, I mean, isn't there a McDonald's in that Subway somewhere that they can crack into?
not for our friend Alice. That's our friend Alice, and she does not have access to a Starbucks or McDonald's. And
it's crazy. Are any of the people in the story inspired by anyone in your lives? Whether physically or maybe just through observation, or being on the subway.
I think it's a pastiche of observation of people, of New Yorkers that I know of. It's a little bit of the archetypes, right? You have your conservative, you have your liberal, right? There's an old Jewish guy who is really I'm a white Jewish guy, so it's people that I know, right? But generally, they're all original characters. There's nobody in this book that I can say, oh, it's based on my buddy Frank or my Aunt Ramona or something like that. I don't have an Aunt Ramona. These are original characters created for the book, created for the story, and they get their life's breath in the narrative. So
yeah.
Oh my God! If you guys had a dream and somebody says, "Oh, we would like to do something else with this property. Would you like to see this in something else? A cartoon, a series, a movie?"
So, I mean, look, this project goes beyond the 5 issues that we're doing over the next couple months, right? There's at least, I would say, 30 issues planned, if not more, if we can get to it. It really kind of depends on you, on the readers, right? With any comic book, with any book, movie, film, any property, it has to be supported for there to be more, right?
Truth.
If you pre-order, if you buy, if you support something you love, you will have more of that thing you love. So we hope that we get to do, book 2 and book 3, and I think there's a total of maybe 4 books that I have. It's already outlined.
Yeah.
So for me, I would love to see this as 4 seasons of television, right? I definitely could see it. Maybe not, maybe 3 seasons. I'm not really sure because I think this first issue wouldn't cover a full season. But not first issue. These first 5 issues wouldn't. This first arc wouldn't cover a full season of television. But I think that's like, man, I'm a TV addict, and there's so many great streaming shows out there, and I totally could see this televised.
Gotcha. Would you like? Is that your vision too?
Yeah, no, this story is plenty of adventure to tell. It's really all the beginning. This is just the beginning. We have plenty of stories to tell about the character, about what's happening before, later. It's really full of stuff. Full. Even it's not superpower or super something. It's normal people, normal life. So
sometimes those are the best stories too, because as much as I love my superheroes and my sci-fi, sometimes when you go that slice of life but that turns dark type of story is fantastic, because things that you could relate to. I mean, just on the first show alone, again, I felt like I was home for a little bit. Like, okay.
And what's great is also if you look at it as like a hero's journey, right? Like a typical Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, what have you. Andrea is right. This is literally the first 30 minutes, right? These 5 issues, if this was Star Wars, these 5 issues would be like up to Luke getting off Mos Eisley in the Millennium Falcon, right? And if this was The Hobbit, these 5 issues would be Bilbo just getting out of the Shire. That's basically what this is. There is so much more to this story that we would love to tell. And we hope that we get to tell it.
Well, I hope so too, folks. Please put the support behind it. You can get it on Comixology now and start getting ready to get the trade paperback dropping from Dark Horse. Please, support it. It's true. We got to support these amazing creators, yo. I mean, if we don't, we're going to lose the things we love, and then you guys are going to be complaining about other crap. Don't. So, support the stuff you love. That's it. That's all you should do. Stop crapping on other stuff. Support things you like. Because again, Neil and Andrea put in their heart into this. Very obvious, because I think 20 years story. I mean, and then you just jumped on it, Andrea. Like, that's it, bro. Bromance begins. Here it goes, page by page, knocking it down. So, is the arc done now? The full story, is it drawn out and just just ready to get printed?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's actually a Dark Horse is getting ready to print the full collection. Woo! I mean, we're ready to go. I will say that while everything is outlined, the second arc is not scripted yet, and so we hope that this will do well enough for Comixology and to say, go for it, let's do more, and then Andrea and I will just get back in the saddle.
Do more Comixology. You know you want this. Don't let it go.
We'll support it.
Yeah, for real, man. Because this is again, I love creators like you. I like hearing stories like this. You know, you guys basically got together, got connected, and then the romance began to create such a beautiful book. You created an amazing team. You know, again, salute to Pamela for connecting us. But you know, flower time, guys like Neil, Andrea. You know, from a fan to creators like yourselves, thank you so much for putting yourselves out there.
Thank you. I thank you so much
out there, man. Nah, but that ain't me. It's you, because you guys entertain us. You guys keep us out of the world sometimes, or you give us a different view of the world, but you give us something that'll keep us entertained, put either a smile on my face, make you just itch for the next one. Like, oh my God, need the next one now. Where is it? Comic shop. Let me go through your backstory. I know you guys should too. But for real, you keep doing what you guys doing, because I see nothing but greatness for you, and I see greatness in this particular title. So my people here, yo, follow them so you will get teasers about the panic. All right, and you better run to your shop in a panic. When this is out on trade paperback. But right now, run like you're panicking to Comixology, type it in, pull out that credit card, get this digital book right now.
And the second issue is actually available for pre-order now, so you can get that. It comes out early June, June 7th, maybe. I don't have the exact date here, but it comes out in June, so you can read number 1 and get yourself ready for number 2, which comes out in a couple weeks.
Let me see. If it was May 3rd that one dropped, I would say maybe June 1st or June 8th. I feel that the other one will drop. So they're spaced out by a month, right?
Yeah, but I think it's actually June 7th. And
that's right. I forget. I'm still stuck. I'm an old school man. I'm stuck on New Comic Book Wednesdays, not Tuesdays. I forget digital Tuesdays.
It is June 7th is the day that it.
Hey, there you go. You see, excellent, folks. You better pre-order now. Again, let me tease you just with that cover number 2. I mean, if this can't convince you, then you guys are nuts. I mean, that is questions. What is going on? No matter how hungry I am, I ain't stooping that low. Maybe a rat salad, because who knows? We probably had that in New York. I'm just saying.
Pizza rats, right?
And I gotta ask you, because I know since you're from Detroit, and I have to ask this question: who makes better pizza, Detroit or New York?
Well, I'll be honest. I keep kosher, so I have very specific kosher tastes. I love New York pizza. I like the big giant slice. But there is a kosher place in Detroit that is my favorite pizza ever. It's called Jerusalem Pizza, and Oak Park, Michigan. And shout out to them. They make my favorite pizza. So
really,
I'll go there every time. But it's not Detroit style pizza. It's like Little Caesar style pizza, probably. But
okay, I get it. Yeah.
But I like it. I like it a lot. But
I'm a New York pizza guy. Period. Andrea, I mean, he's the professional here. Coming from where he come from. I mean, where's the best pizza you had besides home, besides Italy? Because I'm sure they make the best.
Sure, right? In New York, I like very much so in Chicago. There, really? The Lumalnati pizzeria. It's very, very particular, so different than from Italy. Yeah. And in New York, I love so much the pizza pie. Pizza pie is a Roman pizzeria. It's to Lexington and the 42 Street, I guess. Okay. And it's a really nice place, really cool place, really, really, really Italian taste. Yeah. And what's the name of? And there's another very good pizzeria just over the Brooklyn Bridge, turning on the right, beneath the bridge. There's a pizzeria over here. Remember, that the place? I don't remember the name.
Nah, you're killing me. Right.
Wait, Brooklyn side or Manhattan side?
Brooklyn side.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, close to the ferry. The ferry.
Okay. Really?
I love it.
Oh man, see, I can't wait to go home, because the first thing, even before I visit Mama, I need a pie to myself. I'm gonna just take the whole pie and fold it into 4 pieces and just.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's do that. But guys, you've been great. I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, man.
For hanging out. Check it out, folks. The Panic. Number 1 is out now. Number 2 is available for pre-order. Comixology.com. The Panic by Neil Kleid and Andrea Mutti. All right, show the love. You know what to do. Show the love to Comic Crusaders and Undercover Capes. We got shows keeping dropping all week. We got another episode dropping next. We got another Outside the Panels tomorrow. We got some Think Indie. We got Thundercats. We got it all, folks, man. All right, we don't stop. Comic Crusaders is unstoppable, baby. Thank you. Hasta la próxima.
Bye, man. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Comic Crusaders podcast. If you like the content, please subscribe and turn on notifications. Also, please visit comiccrusaders.shop and our extended podcast family over at undercovercapes.com. And also, make sure to download the Comic Crusaders app on the Google Play Store today.